The Soul Matters theme for this month is generosity. And since this is the first Sunday of the month, I have made generosity the focus of today's sermon. Since this is a UU sermon, we will most properly begin with a definition of the subject. The website Wiktionary defines generosity as, quote, the trait of being willing to donate money, resources, or time, unquote. The University of Notre Dame has something they call the Science of Generosity Project, where they actually study the topic in detail. They define generosity as, quote, giving good things to others freely and abundantly, unquote. It would be interesting to know how much free and abundant grant money came up with that definition. Perhaps the most surprising definition to me was Merriam-Webster's, which states that a generous person is someone who is, quote, liberal in giving, unquote. Oh my. Someone used the word liberal. The same source says that the word liberal implies, quote, open-handedness in the giver and largeness in the thing or amount given, unquote. So it turns out that liberal is not a dirty word. But then neither is conservative, because as it turns out, one's political view does not determine who is more likely to be generous. According to the National Academy of Science, politically left-leaning and right-leaning people may donate to different types of organizations, but both can be generous in giving. Unfortunately, the word generous, like the word liberal, has gotten a bad rap in our culture. Some of this is attributed to poor Darwin, who is reported to have coined the idea that evolution is a process of survival of the fittest. The truth is, however, that the phrase was actually created by an English philosopher and psychologist named Herbert Spencer. Spencer's comment was taken to mean that only the strongest and the toughest will survive. This has been the directive, of course, behind the image of the rugged American individualist. Generosity became a sign of weakness, a weak link in the progress of evolution. But organizations such as the Greater Good Science Center, as well as other research and psychology centers, have demonstrated that survival of the species depends more on the overall fitness of the community rather than the individual. They found that a diverse community is able to depend on the varied and unique abilities of its people to overcome the various challenges involved in living a good life now and into the future. In short, we are better able to survive when we work together. Now, this is all well and good, but most people, however, do not engage in generous acts of giving with the overall health of the community in mind. Most people tend to give for more personal reasons, or should I say, more selfish reasons. Because in actuality, generosity can be a very selfish act. Now there's another word with a bad rap. The word selfish often connotes a sense of uncaring arrogance. To call someone selfish is usually an insult. It is an unfortunate attitude left over from our Puritan heritage, where a focus on personal well-being was always suspect. It is my opinion that doing something for yourself is only immoral, if you will, if in doing that act you purposely or inadvertently cause harm to others. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a good meal with other people so long as you do not eat everything in sight. It is possible for giving to be beneficial for both the giver and the receiver at the same time. It is possible to give while also receiving, because doing good can also feel good. Being good to yourself because you are being good to others is not selfish in the negative. As a Psychology Today article put it, quote, "Generosity is a good thing for our mental health and well-being, because when we give to someone we care about, we make it more likely for them to give to us, making us more likely to give to them, and so on. As a result, regions of our brain associated with pleasure, social connection, and trust light up, making us feel all warm and gooey inside." It turns out that science has determined that being generous benefits both the recipient and the donor. Specifically, it has been demonstrated that being generous can reduce stress because your body actually rewards you for doing good. When generous, chemicals such as endorphins, dopamine, and oxytocin are released into the bloodstream. According to the research, this may be because the body learned to reward behavior that was socially advantageous. Believe it or not, a group of compassionate and cooperative people tend to survive better than does an angry, murderous mob. As you might also imagine, being generous tends to improve relationships both individually and collectively. I think it can be said that the strength of a friendship can be measured by how generous those companions are to each other in time, thought, and resources. If that same kind of magnanimity can be extended outward into wider circles of relationship, an entire community could benefit. It helps that generosity has also been found to be contagious. After experiencing an act of goodwill, most people tend to want to repay the gift in kind. According to a paper published by the National Library of Medicine, generous decisions engage the temporoparietal lobe, unquote. In other words, there is a neural link between kindness and happiness. Now, connected neural pathways are certainly a good and fine thing to have, but I am more personally interested in even greater connected pathways afforded through generosity. Those are pathways to the divine, to the sense of something greater than our individual selves. Those of us who seek that kind of mystical connection often do so through spiritual practices. Generosity can be one such spiritual practice. If you think about it, generosity is actually part of every spiritual practice. Whether you meditate or sing sacred songs or pray or spin like a whirling dervish, the desire to engage in a spiritual practice begins with a generous act to yourself. You are giving yourself the gift of transcending your individuality and finding deeper meaning to your life. As you grow and mature spiritually, you learn the significance of being in meaningful relationship with others. Your circle of caring expands outwards from yourself towards greater and greater domains of beings. In the process, you may learn more about yourself. You may encounter your own fears about being connected to others. You may engage with your own confused feelings about reciprocity. You may come to realize that true giving does not expect something in return, and that the spiritual practice of generosity is its own reward. You may further come to understand how being generous is actually a gift you give to yourself. So now you have listened to me wax poetically about generosity and to say all the things you probably expected me to say, but now it's time to put the rubber to the road, to put your shoulder to the wheel, to get the ball rolling, as it were, because I want to dare you to take my kindness challenge. In the version I will present to you here, I am challenging you to engage in an act of kindness dictated by a playing card. I have here a deck of cards with the words Barry UU Church printed on them. I also have a list of simple acts of generosity connected to the playing cards. All of this is also available on the church website for those who want to join us online. Please go to our activities page of the church website to find this Acts of Kindness game. I challenge you to take and keep a random card. When you look at the card, find the suit and number on the sheet and find the act connected to it. My challenge to you is that you do that random act of kindness and that you do it anonymously. Then I challenge you to take a picture of the card in a setting that displays something related to your kind act. Finally, I ask that you send that picture to us or post it on our Facebook page so that we may have a collection of pictures related to the challenge. You are also welcome to invite others to join our challenge so that we can build a great photo gallery of our project. Let us now go forth and be generous. In the name of that which you hold in your heart to be most sacred, may it be so.